Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome to this week's card. Today I'm using some water and a stamp to actually remove color from cardstock. So here are the supplies I'm going to be using. I've cut out a bunch of random strips from some Neenah Solar White cardstock. I've got my Avery Elle Custom Panels die set, which I just got and I've been eyeing for a while. It's got a bunch of different curves and angles and different ways to make your cards a little bit cool and different. And then I've got this Paper Smooches Hello Words die, which has hello, it's got hi, hey, and then I've got them adhered to this magnetic card panel that I use to store my dies, and there'll be a link on my blog for that. I'm using this kind of old stamp from Penny Black called Posies, and it's a silhouette stamp with a little bit of detail. So as long as your stamp is silhouette and it's got a little bit of detail, it'll work great with this technique. Alright, so I've got a bunch of different Distress ink colors, blues and purples, and I don't have a foam applicator for every color, so I just kind of group them together by shade. Okay, so I slowed it down here so you can see that it's hard to do when you have a really small strip of paper because it can easily get bent when you're trying to apply this color. So what you want to do, and it's kind of hard to tell in the video, but I'm twisting my hand, so I'll put it very lightly, touch my foam applicator to the paper, and then I'll twist kind of clockwise, or I guess you could go counterclockwise. I'm going clockwise, so that it doesn't bend your paper. And so just kind of twist and twist and twist your hand, kind of keeping it in one spot. And just keep doing it until you get the coverage that you want. Now once you get the ends done, then you can hold it down with your fingers and apply the ink the normal way like you would with a larger sheet in the middle area. So I'm going to keep doing this with all these different colors on these different strips. And I'm going to wipe off my applicator in between colors just so that I don't get too much of an overlap. Alright, so once I'm finished with all these colors here, I'm going to take a piece of printer paper, so it's really thin, and I'm going to apply all these strips right next to each other. And you want to make sure you get really good adhesive coverage because we're going to be die cutting this and you don't want anything sticking up or out. So make sure they're really close to each other and really well adhered to this piece of printer paper. So you may notice that my strips are actually longer now, and that's because I did this whole next step of the card with the camera off. And so I had to recreate all those strips and put them on a new sheet of scrap paper so I could show you how to do this. Anyway, so I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to spritz it with water, and I'm going to show you how much is on there. It's a pretty good amount of water. Then I'm going to take my panel that I've now created with these longer strips, and I'm just going to put it down on there and hold it down. And you're going to hold it for maybe like 10 seconds, I want to say, and then lift it up. And you can see that the color is removed. It looks really pretty. And then I'm just going to wipe it off and I'm going to spray it again. And this is the third time that I'm doing this, just to get some good flower coverage on my panels here. And this is what I'm going to be cutting it with, this die. So I'm just going to put it up against there and make sure that I've got my flowers covering the entire panel once it gets cut. So I'm going to set that off to dry because I'm going to wait for it to dry before I die cut it. And then in the meantime, I'm going to work on the Hello sentiment. So I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to use some Neenah Solar White cardstock and run it through my Sizzix. And I'm going to create a enamel accent with it. So how you do that is you just turn it upside down and put it in your Versamark, and I'm taking the back of a paper piercer and I'm kind of pushing it into the Versamark. Now this is ultra thick embossing powder. You can see it's kind of sugary, like a very granular sort of texture to it. I'm going to dip it in there, and this is just some really, really thick embossing powder, and so it's going to give a really heavy heat embossed shine on there. So I'm going to dip both pieces in, and then I'm going to heat them up, and I'm going to show you up close. It's really thick, and when it goes on it becomes really shiny and just like an enamel accent. So it's really cool. I love this embossing powder. Alright, I'm going to work on my card base, and all I'm going to do here is draw some lines on the outside, around the outside, and I'm just using a Stampin' Up! Black marker and a ruler. Okay, now I'm going to cut this. Now, I created my strips a little bit wider than a 5.5 inch card base, so I am going to have some extras on the side, and I'm just going to cut those off. But that die would actually normally cut a perfect 5.5 inch wide card. So I'm just measuring it, make sure it looks good, and I'm going to trim the top so that I get a nice even edge at the top. And then just cut off that other piece of scratch paper. And I'm just going to put some tape runner on it and adhere it to the very top of the card. I'm just going to trim off that excess. Alright, now to put my hello on there, it's a pretty thin sentiment, and so the Tombow Mono Multi Glue, I love it because it's really thick, but sometimes it's a little too thick and it seeps out the sides. So I just put some on a piece of paper first, and then I put my my accent into the glue, and then I kind of push it off to the side a little bit to remove some of the glue. So you don't need that much of this glue because it's so strong. So I just sort of dipped it in there. I used it on the paper there, and then I just push it down and it sticks really well. And that's it. Pretty easy card, clean and simple. I hope you like it, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.